The gold lettering on the wedding invitation gleamed until her name was slashed through with thick black ink. Marion Cole stood in her Savannah kitchen, morning light trembling on the refrigerator door. The envelope, once a symbol of pride, now looked like a wound. Her only son, Adam Reeves, had always been her reason to keep going. Now, in his tidy handwriting, he had erased her from the biggest day of his life. Since you've chosen not to support our future, you shouldn't be present for its beginning. The words pierced her chest. She set the card beside the sugar bowl Daniel had bought their first year of marriage. Around her, the house, her sanctuary, seemed smaller, its silence thick with judgment. Outside, orange blossoms swayed in the spring light. Daniel had planted them years before cancer took him. Their scent once promised comfort. Now it only reminded her of loss. Her mind returned to that dinner at Le Méridien 2 months earlier. Adam, handsome and composed, had stared at her across the white tablecloth. "Mom, it's time to be practical," he'd said. "You're alone in that old house. If you sell it, you could move somewhere easier. Lydia and I could finally buy our place." Lydia Carmichael had smiled politely, her manicured hand resting on Adam's sleeve. "It's a win for everyone," she said sweetly. "Everyone but Marion. That house was her life. She had painted its walls after Daniel's surgery, planted lemon trees in his honor, and cried quietly in the bedroom when he could no longer speak. "I'm not selling," she'd told them. "This home is where your father and I built everything. It's where you grew up." Adam's eyes had turned cold. "You've always been too emotional about that place." Now, on the morning of his wedding, her refusal had cost her everything. The phone rang, its sharp tone cutting the silence. Unknown number. She almost ignored it. Almost. "Mrs. Cole?" The young woman's voice trembled. "My name is Harper Quinn. We've never met, but you need to hear what I know about Lydia Carmichael." Marion gripped the counter. "Who are you?" "I used to be her roommate," Harper said quickly. "Please don't hang up. Lydia's done this before, 3 times. She finds men like your son, successful, generous, close to their mothers. She pressures the family to sell property or fund a lavish wedding. Then she disappears with the money." Marion's stomach dropped. "That's absurd." "I have proof," Harper said. "Screenshots, contracts, recordings. Lydia's drowning in debt. She needs your house's equity to survive." Marion's breath caught. "Why tell me now?" "Because last night she called me drunk," Harper said softly. "She bragged about turning your son against you. Her exact words were, 'Another sentimental old woman who'll die in a nursing home while I enjoy her equity.'" The words hung in the air like poison. Marion closed her eyes. She could see Lydia's perfect smile, hear her practiced laughter, imagine her hand gripping Adam's arm possessively. "Send me everything you have," she said quietly. "I already did," Harper replied. "Please don't let her destroy him." When the call ended, Marion stood still, listening to the clock ticking above the stove. She crossed the kitchen to the window. The pecan trees along Willow Lane shimmered under the bright sun. Neighbors waved from porches, unaware her world had just shifted. Upstairs, in the cedar chest Daniel had built, lay the folder marked House Willow Lane. Inside were deeds, insurance papers, and investments Daniel had put in her name. Security, he'd told her, so no one can take what's ours. They all thought Marion was fragile, a widow clinging to memories. They were wrong. Beneath her quiet surface was a woman who had survived debt, illness, and grief. She opened the folder, slipped the papers into her purse beside the ruined invitation, then caught her reflection in the hallway mirror. Silver hair pinned neatly, eyes calm but fierce. She would go to that wedding, just as planned, but not as an uninvited guest. She would walk into Hawthorne Hall carrying every truth that could shatter the lies and save her son from the woman who thought she'd already won. Marian fastened her coat, the same one she'd worn to Daniel's funeral. She put on her pearl earrings, straightened her shoulders, and took one last look around the kitchen. The kettle began to whistle softly. By noon, the guests would toast with champagne. By 1, the ceremony would begin. And before the sun set over Savannah's moss-draped oaks, Marian Cole would remind everyone, especially Lydia Carmichael, that the woman they had crossed out of the invitation still held all the power. Morning sunlight spilled across the kitchen floor of the house on Willow Lane as Marian Cole carried her coffee to the table. The scent of lemon polish lingered in the air, mingling with the faint sweetness of orange blossoms drifting in from the garden. For 30 years, this house had been her world. Now every corner reminded her what she stood to lose. She set the mug beside an old photo. Adam, age 5, grinning with mud on his knees. Daniel behind him, steadying a wooden airplane. Daniel's laugh had once filled these rooms, a deep sound that made the walls feel alive. Outside, the orange trees Daniel planted shimmered with new blossoms. "These will see him grow," he'd said proudly the spring Adam was born. He hadn't lived long enough to see how wrong he was. A car door shut outside. Marian drew the curtain and saw Nora Bennett's blue sedan. Her oldest friend stepped out, brisk and composed. "Are you ready?" Nora asked as she came in. "As ready as a woman can be when her son's erased her from his wedding," Marian said. "Then you need breakfast." Nora set a paper bag on the counter. "Courage comes easier on a full stomach." Marian almost smiled. "That's what you said the night Daniel died." Nora poured 2 cups of coffee, her tone practical. "Show me the proof." Marian handed her the printed emails, bank records, and photos Harper Quinn had sent. Nora scanned each page, her lips tightening. "She's done this before?" 3 times, Marian said. "She finds men like Adam, successful, kind, close to their mothers. She convinces their families to sell property or pay for her future, then disappears." Nora exhaled slowly. "You realize your son won't believe it." "I know." Marian's voice trembled. "But I have to try." Nora looked up. "Better he's angry than ruined." Marian nodded, though the thought pierced her heart. Silence filled the kitchen. Outside, the wind chime Daniel hung years ago gave a soft, uneven sound. Marian stared at it. "Harper said Lydia called her drunk last night, bragging about my house. She said she'd made Adam think I was selfish." Nora's expression hardened. "Then she's nervous. You'll be the last person she expects to see." Marian rose and walked to the hallway. Daniel's armchair still faced the garden. On the table beside it sat a framed note he'd written before surgery. "Love isn't measured in money, but in how fiercely we protect each other." She slipped the note into her purse beside the documents. Upstairs, the cedar chest stood open. Inside were deeds, insurance policies, and Daniel's neat signature, proof of his care even after death. Marian touched the papers, whispering, "You always prepared me for storms." She placed what she needed into her bag and closed the lid. By mid-morning, the sky was a clear, endless blue. Marian chose a dove-gray dress, simple but elegant, and pinned her silver hair neatly. She draped a thin pearl shawl over her shoulders and clasped the necklace Daniel had given her years ago. The woman in the mirror looked calm, but her eyes carried quiet fire. Outside, Nora honked. "If we don't leave now, we'll be late for your grand entrance." Marian locked the door, glancing back at the porch where Daniel once drank his morning coffee. "Keep standing," she whispered. They drove through Savannah's winding streets, past moss-draped oaks and sunlit porches. Marian's chest tightened with both fear and purpose. You could still turn back, Nora said. Mothers don't turn back, Marian replied. Not when their children are walking into ruin. Nora nodded. Then what's the plan? I'll find him before the ceremony, Marian said. 5 minutes. That's all I need. And if he won't listen, then at least I'll know I tried. They drove in silence. Marian watched sunlight flicker across the dashboard, the rhythm almost soothing. Somewhere in that shifting light, she felt Daniel's presence, steady, reassuring. Nora broke the quiet. You're brave, you know. Marian smiled faintly. Bravery's just fear that knows what matters most. As they neared the highway, the city gave way to open fields. The clock read 11:45. Hawthorne Hall was 20 minutes away. Marian rested a hand on her purse. Inside lay everything she needed, the proof of Lydia's lies, the strength Daniel had left behind, and the determination of a mother who refused to be erased. Hold on, Adam, she whispered. Your mother's coming. Nora kept her eyes on the road. Then let's make sure the bride gets the surprise she deserves. The car moved faster, sunlight glinting across the windshield, carrying them toward the wedding where truth waited to collide with pretense, and a mother was about to reclaim her place. The road to Hawthorne Hall curved beneath moss-draped oaks, shimmering in late morning sun. Marian Cole sat in the passenger seat, her purse clutched in her lap. Inside were the papers, the recordings, the truth that could save her son. The air smelled faintly of salt and pine, yet her stomach churned. Nora Bennett drove steadily, eyes fixed on the road. You can still turn back. Marian shook her head. If I don't stop this, I'll lose him forever. By the time they reached the estate, rows of luxury cars filled the parking lot. Hawthorne Hall rose like a white palace against the green hills. Guests in suits and pastel dresses drifted toward the gardens, laughter floating through the air. Somewhere beyond, a quartet tuned their instruments. Nora parked near the back. You want me to come? Let me try first, Marian said. I need him to hear it from me. She stepped from the car, smoothing her gray dress. The invitation Lydia had defaced still sat in her purse beside the evidence. It felt like a wound and a weapon. The entrance gleamed with white roses and silk ribbons. A man in a gray suit stood by the doors, checking invitations. Marian walked straight to him. I'm Adam Reeves's mother, she said calmly. I need to see him before the ceremony. He frowned. Mrs. Reeves? You're not on the list. It's Cole, she said evenly, and my son will want to see me. Her voice carried such quiet authority that the man hesitated, then stepped aside. Inside, chandeliers glowed above polished marble floors. Marian's heels clicked softly as she followed the distant sound of men's voices upstairs. Her heart pounded. A young woman with a headset hurried past. Groom's suite, second floor, east wing, she told another staff member. Marian turned to Nora. Wait here, 15 minutes. Nora nodded. Go remind him who raised him. Marian climbed the stairs, the hem of her dress brushing the carpet. Her pulse roared in her ears. At the top, she found a door marked Groom's Suite. She drew a breath and knocked. The door opened to reveal Ethan Brooks, Adam's best friend. His eyes widened. Mrs. Cole? You're not supposed to. I need 5 minutes, Marian said. Please. Ethan hesitated, then nodded. Make it quick. Inside, Adam stood before a mirror adjusting his tie. When he saw her reflection, his hands froze. Mom. Hello, Adam, she said softly. I know you didn't expect me, but I couldn't stay away. He turned, his expression closing like a door. You shouldn't be here. I know. But you need to hear me before you marry that woman. His voice hardened. You came here to embarrass me? I came here to protect you. She held up the folder. Lydia isn't who you think she is. Adam laughed bitterly. You've been against her since the beginning. I was wrong about a lot of things, Marion said, but not this. She laid the papers on the table. Screenshots, contracts, bank transfers. She's done this before. 3 men, 3 families. Each time she made them sell property, then disappeared. Adam flipped through the pages, disbelief tightening his jaw. Anyone could fake these. Then listen, Marion said, tapping her phone. Lydia's voice filled the room, low and slurred. Another sentimental old woman who'll die in a nursing home while I enjoy her equity. Adam went pale. His hand shook. Where did you get this? From someone who used to live with her, Marion said. She called last night, terrified you're her next victim. He stared at the floor. Lydia wouldn't. She would, Marion said softly. She already has. Silence pressed between them. Then Adam's anger flared. Even if it's true, this isn't the time. It's exactly the time. Marion's voice rose, steady and fierce. You're about to tie your life to a lie. I won't let you. Get out, he said, trembling. I'll go, she said quietly, gathering the folder. But you'll remember this moment. Ethan stepped forward. Adam, maybe you should look closer. There's an audio file here. Adam hesitated, torn. Just go, Mom. Marion met his eyes one last time. Your father once said, ambition without conscience destroys a man. Don't prove him right. She turned and left the suite, her heart pounding. Behind her came the faint rustle of paper and Ethan's low voice reading something aloud. Downstairs, Nora waited by the staircase. Well, he didn't believe me, Marion said. Not yet. From the garden below came the opening notes of the wedding march. Guests began taking their seats. Marion looked toward the French doors leading outside. Time's running out, Nora said. Marion's expression hardened. Truth has its own clock. As they turned toward the exit, a shout echoed from upstairs, followed by hurried footsteps. Marion didn't move. She already knew. Her son had finally read the last page. Soft music drifted through the garden of Hawthorne Hall, elegant and fragile as glass. Guests sat beneath white canopies, fanning themselves, unaware that the ceremony was seconds from collapse. Marion Cole stood at the back beside Nora Bennett, hidden behind a column wrapped in roses. Her heart thudded with every faint note of the wedding march. Do you think he'll stop it? Nora whispered. Marion didn't answer. Her fingers clenched the purse, holding the evidence. The garden shimmered with beauty, crystal vases, silk ribbons, gold-trimmed chairs, but the air felt heavy with falsehood. Then the main doors opened. Lydia Carmichael stepped out. Gasps rippled through the crowd. She was stunning, draped in ivory silk, her diamonds throwing shards of light. Her smile was perfect, but Marion saw the truth, a flicker of unease, a glance toward the aisle where Adam should have been. The music faltered. Guests whispered. Lydia's father, Gareth Carmichael, stiffened in his seat. "Where's the groom?" someone murmured. The side door burst open. Adam entered, Ethan Brooks at his shoulder. He looked pale, his steps steady but heavy. The musicians fell silent. "Adam," Lydia called, her voice trembling slightly. "Darling, what's wrong?" He didn't stop until he stood before her. For a moment, they simply stared at each other under the arch of roses. "The wedding's over," he said quietly. A ripple moved through the guests. Lydia blinked, her smile flickering. "Don't joke. Everyone's waiting." "This isn't a joke," Adam said. "You lied. To me, to everyone." Lydia's eyes darted toward her father, then back. "I don't know what your mother's told you," Adam's voice sharpened. "3 engagements before me. Families who sold their homes for you. Does that sound familiar?" The guests gasped. Lydia's face drained of color. "Who told you that?" "It doesn't matter." "You believe her?" Lydia snapped, pointing toward the back. "That bitter woman who couldn't stand to let you go?" Every head turned. Marion met Lydia's glare, calm and unflinching. "Don't," Adam said sharply. "Don't talk about my mother." Lydia's composure cracked. "You don't understand," she pleaded. "I love you, Adam. I made mistakes, but you used me," he said softly, "and you nearly destroyed the only family I have left." Lydia's father rose, face flushed. "That's enough. My daughter won't stand here and be humiliated." Adam turned to him, voice cold. "Then you should have stopped her before she lied." The silence that followed was deep and electric. Lydia's mask fell away. "You'll regret this," she hissed. "You think anyone will believe you? You're nothing without me." "Maybe," Adam said evenly, "but at least I'll be honest." Lydia snatched the papers from his hand and ripped them in fury. "You're pathetic," she shouted, "a small-town dreamer who thought marrying me would make him someone." Ethan stepped forward. "You should leave now, Miss Carmichael." She looked around and realized phones were pointed at her, cameras flashing. Her expression froze into a brittle smile. "Enjoy your pity," she whispered to Adam, then turned and strode away, her gown dragging through crushed petals. No one moved. Adam stood still, the shredded papers fluttering at his feet. Then he said quietly, "The wedding is canceled. I'm sorry for the disruption." A few guests murmured, some rising awkwardly. The officiant shut his book without a word. At the back, Nora touched Marion's arm. "Go to him." Marion hesitated, then stepped into the aisle. The crowd parted instinctively as she walked forward. When Adam saw her, the hardness in his eyes broke. "Mom," he said softly. She stopped in front of him. "It's over." He nodded, his voice raw. "You were right." Marion's throat tightened. "You had to see it yourself." "I almost married a stranger," he whispered. "But you didn't." She squeezed his hand. "You found the truth before it was too late." For a long moment, mother and son stood together beneath the ruined archway. Around them, guests whispered, but Marion no longer cared. Nora joined them quietly. "We should leave before reporters arrive." Adam turned toward the crowd. "Thank you for coming," he said calmly. "There won't be a ceremony, but please stay for the lunch. It's already paid for." A few polite nods followed. Marion looked around at the glittering decorations, the waste of it all, and felt neither triumph nor anger, only relief. Outside, sunlight spilled across the stone steps. Adam placed his hand on her shoulder. "I don't know how to fix what I've broken." "You start by coming home," Marion said. "The rest can be rebuilt." He managed a small, weary smile. They walked together down the path lined with fallen petals. Marion looked back once at the empty arch and whispered to herself, "We're free." The heavy doors of Hawthorne Hall shut behind them, closing out the gasps, whispers, and the broken music of a wedding that had never happened. Outside, the afternoon light slanted across the gravel drive. Marion Cole inhaled deeply, the air cool on her face. Adam walked beside her in silence, his steps uneven, his tie loosened. "It's strange," he murmured. "A few hours ago I thought I was about to start my life. Now I feel like it just ended." Marion looked at him gently. "No, Adam. It just began again, without the lies." He didn't reply. The man she'd raised to be strong looked hollow, like a statue missing its heart. Ethan Brooks emerged from the hall behind them, jacket in hand. "She's gone," he said quietly. "Left with her father. Reporters are already gathering by the gate." Adam gave a humorless laugh. "Of course. She'll spin her story before the truth catches up." Nora Bennett appeared at Marion's side, ever steady. "Then we leave before the vultures circle," she said briskly. They made their way through the parking lot. The estate's manicured lawns gleamed in the fading light, beautiful and false, like the life Lydia Carmichael had tried to build. When they reached Nora's car, no one spoke. As they drove away, the road curved beneath moss-draped oaks. The quiet was thick until Adam finally said, "Her father is one of our biggest clients. When this hits the news, my firm will distance itself from me." Marion looked out the window at the streaking sunlight. Let them. Reputation built on silence isn't worth keeping. He gave a tired laugh. "You always make it sound simple." "It isn't," she admitted, "but it's right." Nora kept her eyes on the road. "You'll recover faster than you think. People respect the truth when it's spoken without fear." Adam rubbed his temples. "I've been blind, Mom. I let her convince me you were the problem. I said terrible things." Marion reached over and touched his arm. "You were chasing love. Everyone does foolish things when they're lonely." He swallowed hard. "You should hate me for how I treated you." "I could never hate my son," she said softly. Silence filled the car again. Outside, the trees gave way to open highway. After a while, Nora pulled into a quiet roadside diner. "We need food," she said. "Even heartbreak runs better on coffee." Inside, the place smelled of fried batter and warmth. They slid into a corner booth. The waitress brought 3 mugs without asking. Ethan spoke first. "Lydia fooled a lot of people, Adam. Don't carry it all alone." Adam stared into his coffee. "I ignored every warning. I thought marrying her would prove I'd made it." Marion stirred her drink. "What you've made is a clean slate. That's rarer than success." Ethan nodded. "She won't recover from this one. The evidence is too strong." Marion's eyes flickered with quiet satisfaction. "It's already safe. I sent copies of everything to my lawyer this morning." Adam looked at her, astonished. "You thought of that before coming here?" "Daniel taught me to prepare for storms," she said simply. "It's why we survived so many." A small smile touched his face. "He'd be proud of you." "He'd be proud of you too," she said. "You saw the truth and stood up for it." The waitress returned with pie. They ate slowly, the sugar grounding them after a day of bitterness. Through the window, dusk painted the horizon in amber light. When the plates were cleared, Adam said quietly, "I don't know what comes next." "Come home," Marion said. "Rest. We'll figure it out together." He hesitated. "Are you sure you want me back? After everything?" She smiled faintly. "I never stopped wanting you back." They left the diner as the first stars appeared. The drive to Willow Lane was silent but peaceful. When Nora dropped them off, the porch light glowed like a small beacon. Adam paused at the gate. "It feels smaller than I remember." "It's not smaller," Marion said. "You just got lost for a while." He glanced at her, eyes shining. "And you waited." "I promised your father I always would." Inside, the house smelled of lemon and old wood. The ticking clock greeted them. For the first time in months, the silence between them felt comfortable. Adam stopped at the photo on the mantel, him at 10, Daniel's arm around his shoulders. "I forgot what real love looked like," he whispered. Marion placed a hand on his back. "Now you remember." He turned to her. "I'll rebuild, Mom. I'll make you proud." "You already have," she said. Outside, thunder rolled far away, gentle and low, like applause from another world. Adam smiled faintly. "Maybe tomorrow we can start over." Marion nodded. "Tomorrow sounds perfect." Morning sunlight streamed through the lace curtains of the house on Willow Lane, soft and golden. The air smelled of coffee, butter, and something Marion Cole hadn't felt in months: peace. She stood at the stove, flipping pancakes, the way Daniel used to on lazy Sundays. The quiet hum of the house made her feel safe again, though she knew the storm outside hadn't passed. Footsteps creaked on the stairs. Adam appeared in the doorway, hair tousled, shirt half-buttoned. "You're up early," he said, voice rough. "I couldn't sleep," Marion replied, setting a plate in front of him. "Thought I'd make breakfast." He smiled faintly. "You remembered how I like them. Too much syrup. I never forget." They ate quietly. The morning light fell across his face, revealing the exhaustion behind his calm. Finally, he slid off his wedding ring and set it beside his coffee. "I have to meet with my partners this afternoon," he said. "Lydia's father called them last night. He's threatening to pull his accounts." Marion frowned. "You can't let them treat you like the villain." He sighed. "They'll say it's business, but we both know what that means." "Then tell them the truth," she said. "If they'd rather keep a liar's money than an honest man's work, walk away." He looked at her, searching for certainty he no longer felt. "You make it sound simple." "It's never simple," she said, "but it's right." He gave a small, humorless laugh. "You've always had that moral compass, even when the rest of us lost ours." After breakfast, he went upstairs to change. Marion washed the dishes slowly, watching sunlight glint off the water. She had done what she came to do, saved him, but saving came with pain. He had lost everything but the truth, and truth, she knew, could be heavy. A knock sounded at the door. Marion dried her hands and opened it. A young woman stood there, auburn hair pulled back neatly, eyes hesitant but kind. "Mrs. Cole?" "Yes." "I'm Harper Quinn," she said. "We spoke on the phone." Marion blinked in surprise. "You came all this way?" "I needed to see you," Harper said, "and to apologize for not warning you sooner." "You don't owe me that," Marion said, ushering her in. "You told me what I needed when it mattered." Harper stepped inside, glancing around the tidy kitchen. "It's beautiful here. Feels safe." "That's the idea," Marion said. "Coffee?" Harper smiled faintly. "I'd love some." As Marion poured, Adam came down the stairs. He froze at the sight of her. "Harper?" She nodded. "I came to tell you something important. Lydia isn't finished. She's already spreading rumors online, claims you had a breakdown, that you're unstable." Adam's jaw clenched. "Of course she is." Harper took a breath. "She's done this before. After every failed engagement, she twists the story. She makes herself the victim first." "Can she do that again?" Marion asked. "She'll try," Harper said. "But I've gathered evidence, emails, messages, even statements from one of her previous fiancé's families. If she pushes this, I'll testify." Adam rubbed his forehead. "I don't want to keep fighting her." Marion placed a steady hand on his shoulder. "You're not fighting her alone anymore." Harper nodded. "A journalist I trust wants to hear your side. If you tell the story with proof, you'll control the narrative before she does." Adam hesitated. "Going public will drag everything out." "It might," Harper admitted, "but silence lets her win." He studied her for a long moment, then nodded. "Set it up." Harper smiled faintly. "I'll contact him tonight." When she left, the house grew quiet again. Adam turned to his mother. "Do you think this will ever end?" "It will," Marion said. "Truth always outlasts noise." He sat heavily in a chair. "I thought I'd feel relief after the wedding ended, but I just feel exposed." "That's what honesty feels like at first," she said softly. "It burns before it heals." He gave a tired smile. "You always know what to say." "I've had years of practice," she replied. "Your father made plenty of mistakes. I just learned to clean up afterward." They both laughed quietly. Outside, clouds gathered, a storm rolling in from the coast. The wind stirred the curtains, rattling the window latch. Marion looked toward the gray sky. "Rain's coming." Adam followed her gaze. "Then we stay in and wait it out." Marion turned back to him, warmth in her eyes. For years she had feared losing her son to ambition and pride. Now, in this fragile calm, she felt him returning to himself. "Whatever happens next," he said softly, "I'll face it head on. No more pretending." Marian smiled. "That's my boy." The first drops tapped against the glass, gentle and steady, like a promise of new beginnings. Rain washed over Savannah the next morning, turning the streets into mirrors of silver light. Marian Cole stood by the kitchen window, watching drops trail down the glass. The world outside looked softer, as if starting fresh. Behind her, Adam paced restlessly, phone in hand, tie loose around his neck. He'd been awake since dawn, rehearsing what to say to his firm. His meeting with the partners was at 9. Marian recognized the same tension Daniel once carried before every hard decision. "Eat something," she said, placing toast and coffee on the table. "I can't," he muttered. "You'll need your strength." He sighed, sitting reluctantly. "If they choose Lydia's father's money over me, I'm done." "Then start over," she said simply. "Clean slates are underrated." Adam looked at her, half smiling. "You always make disaster sound like opportunity. It's called survival," she said. "I've had practice." The clock ticked. Outside, thunder rumbled. When his phone buzzed, he rose. "Wish me luck." "You don't need luck," she said. "You have truth." He kissed her cheek and left. The house grew quiet again. Marian tried to read but couldn't focus. Every sound, the ticking clock, the rain, the creak of the stairs, seemed to echo her worry. She'd fought for Adam's freedom, but she couldn't fight this battle for him. At 11, the door opened. Adam stepped inside, drenched but smiling faintly. "Well?" she asked. "They didn't fire me," he said, dropping his jacket, "but they asked me to take a leave of absence. Lydia's father's pulling his contracts, so they chose convenience." He nodded. "I guess morality doesn't pay as well as corruption." Marian poured him fresh coffee. "Then build something that does." He gave a small laugh. "You always think I can start over from nothing. You can. You've done it before. You just don't remember." That afternoon, as rain slowed to drizzle, a knock came at the door. Marian opened it to find Harper Quinn, holding a folder wrapped in plastic. "Mrs. Cole," Harper said, smiling nervously, "I thought you'd want to know. The journalist I told you about verified everything. The article comes out tomorrow morning." Adam appeared behind Marian. "Everything?" "Every lie she told," Harper said. "Her debts, her past, even the rumors she's spreading about you. Once this is published, her story falls apart." Adam blinked, stunned. "You worked fast." "I've had practice cleaning up her chaos," Harper said, "but this time she won't recover." Marian ushered her inside. "You've done more than enough." Harper shook her head. "I wanted to see justice once in my life." Adam's phone rang again. He frowned. "Gerald, my boss." He stepped aside to answer. Harper turned to Marian. "Do you think he'll forgive himself?" "He already has," Marian said softly. "He just doesn't know it yet." A moment later, Adam returned, expression shifting between disbelief and relief. "They want me back. Gerald said they read the article draft. He called me principled. Can you believe that?" Marian grinned. "Maybe truth does pay after all." Harper laughed quietly. "Looks like you're back on solid ground." Adam rubbed his eyes. "I don't even know what to say." "Say thank you," Marian said, "and maybe send Harper a gift basket." They all laughed, the tension easing. Harper gathered her things. "I'll message you when the article's live. Try to rest tonight." After she left, the house felt lighter, filled with the clean scent of rain. Adam stood by the window, watching droplets slide down the glass. "For months, I thought success was about climbing higher," he said. "Now I just want to build something that matters." "What do you want to build?" Marian asked. "Affordable homes," he said after a pause. for people who work hard and still can't afford stability, something Dad would have been proud of. Marion felt tears sting her eyes. Then it settled. He nodded. It feels right. From his pocket, he pulled the small silver compass Marion had gifted him for the wedding that never happened. Turning it in his hand, he smiled. Now I understand your note. May you always find your way home. Marion touched his arm gently. And you have. Outside, the clouds began to part, sunlight spilling through like forgiveness. Adam opened the door and stepped onto the porch, breathing in the cool air. It smells like a clean start, he said. Marion joined him, resting a hand on his shoulder. That's because it is. The morning after the article was published, the phone at the house on Willow Lane wouldn't stop ringing. Marion Cole silenced it for the third time and set it face down on the counter. Headlines were already spreading. Architect exposes socialite's marriage scam. Every news site carried Adam's name. Every photo captured his solemn face leaving Hawthorne Hall. She watched her son pace the living room, one hand gripping his coffee mug, the other sliding through his hair. It's everywhere, he said. My inbox, my voicemail, reporters, old classmates, even clients I haven't heard from in years. Marion leaned against the doorframe. And what are they saying? Half congratulate me, half ask if the rumors were true. He laughed without humor. Guess scandal sells better than redemption. At least they know the truth, she said quietly. Yeah, he murmured, but truth doesn't stop the noise. Outside, sunlight broke through the clouds. The world looked bright, clean, and cruelly indifferent. A soft knock came at the door. Harper Quinn stood there, holding a stack of printed articles. It's official, she said. Your national news. Lydia Carmichael's being investigated for fraud. Adam blinked. Already? Harper nodded. 2 of her former fiancés came forward this morning. The FBI's Financial Crimes Division is reviewing her accounts. Marion motioned her in. Coffee. Please, Harper said, sinking into a chair. It's chaos out there. Reporters are circling her father's office. Adam sat across from her. How long before she strikes back? She won't, Harper said. She's gone quiet. That's how you know she's scared. Marion set the coffee pot down. Then it's over. Harper smiled faintly. For you, maybe. But for her, no. She built her life on lies. Now she'll watch it crumble. Adam rubbed his face. I thought victory would feel better. It rarely does, Harper said. You lost more than she ever could. He nodded. But at least it means something now. Marion touched his arm. Meaning lasts longer than victory. Harper checked her watch. There's more. A local TV producer wants to interview you about integrity in business, rebuilding after betrayal. You'd come off as a symbol of perseverance. Adam shook his head. I'm not a symbol. I just survived. Sometimes that's enough, Harper said gently. People need to see what surviving looks like. He considered it. Maybe later. Right now I need quiet. She rose, finishing her coffee. You've earned it. After Harper left, Marion and Adam sat together in silence. The house seemed to hum with the strange calm that follows a storm. What will you do now? Marion asked. Something simple, he said. I keep thinking about what we talked about, the housing project. Maybe it's time. Her eyes softened. Your father always wanted to design something that mattered. I remember. Adam stood, moving to the window. He used to say buildings should make people feel safe, not small. Then build that, Marion said. Start where safety begins, with home. He turned to her, smiling for the first time in days. Would you help me name it? She thought for a moment. What about Haven? Everyone needs one. Haven, he repeated. I like that. Later that afternoon, they drove downtown to meet Ethan Brooks at a small community center. Rain puddles glittered on the pavement, reflecting the bright signs of corner cafes and thrift stores. Inside, Ethan greeted them with open arms. "I read the article. You're practically a folk hero, man." "Don't start," Adam said, embarrassed. Ethan grinned. "Too late. I made calls this morning. There's grant money available for sustainable housing. If you're serious, we can make this real." "I'm serious," Adam said, "but it has to stay affordable, practical, a real project, not a vanity piece." Marion watched the two men sketch ideas on scrap paper, simple homes with light, gardens, shared spaces, hope taking shape through ink lines. She hadn't seen her son this alive since before Lydia. When they finished, Ethan said, "We'll need investors who care more about community than profit." Marion smiled. "Then start with mothers. We've been building homes our whole lives." Adam laughed. "You might be onto something." As evening fell, they stepped outside. The air smelled of wet brick and honeysuckle. For the first time, Adam didn't look burdened. He looked ready. "You know," he said, glancing at his mother, "everything I thought I lost, status, success, control, it never really mattered." "What matters now?" she asked. "Doing something honest," he said. "Something that lasts." Marion slipped her arm through his. "Then you're finally where you're meant to be." They walked toward the car as the streetlights flickered on, their reflections stretching across the glistening road, two shadows moving forward, not away. The week after the article broke, Savannah finally breathed again. The reporters left, the phone stopped ringing, and the house on Willow Lane filled with something Marion Cole hadn't felt in months: peace. Each morning she woke before sunrise, brewed coffee, and listened to the stillness settle around her like a promise. Down the hall, Adam was already working. The dining table had transformed into his studio, covered in sketches, maps, and color samples. Gone were the gleaming towers and glass condos of his old life. Now, his designs were for modest, human-sized homes, surrounded by green space. At the top of his plans, in bold black ink, were the words, "Project Haven." Marion carried 2 mugs of coffee into the room. "You've been at this since 5, she said. He smiled without looking up. "Can't help it. For once, this feels right. You're designing something that breathes," she said softly. "Your father would have been proud." Adam paused, eyes flickering toward her. "I hope so. I spent years chasing what he never cared about. Status, approval, all the wrong things." Marion smiled. "It's never too late to build what matters." That afternoon, they drove downtown to meet Ethan Brooks and Harper Quinn at the Seabright Community Center, the future heart of Project Haven. The place smelled of dust, rain, and old wood, but sunlight poured through tall windows, lighting the cracked floors. Ethan spread blueprints across a folding table. "The city's offering this lot if we can prove funding within 2 months." Harper opened her laptop. "2 grants are pending, and I've spoken to a local foundation. The article helped. Everyone loves a redemption story." Marion chuckled, even if they didn't live through it. They worked for hours, pencils scratching, voices overlapping, ideas flowing like current. Harper handled logistics, Ethan handled budgets, and Adam redrew layouts with steady focus. Marion watched him, her chest full of quiet pride. For the first time in years, her son looked like himself. When evening came, the light outside turned golden, falling through the windows in soft stripes. Ethan leaned back, stretching. "You realize we're actually doing this?" Adam smiled. "Feels like we're finally building something real." "More than buildings," Harper said. "It's about belonging, safety, home." Marion touched Adam's shoulder. "You've turned pain into purpose. That's rare." He nodded. Maybe that's what Dad meant when he said failure teaches character. They packed up their notes, then stepped outside into the warm, humid air. The street smelled faintly of magnolia and rain. "Do you ever think about her?" Marion asked quietly as they reached the car. Adam hesitated. "Sometimes. But she's gone. The FBI's investigating her accounts. I don't hate her anymore. I just feel sorry for her." Marion nodded. "The best revenge is peace." He smiled faintly. "Then I think we're both winning." That night, they celebrated with a simple dinner: roast chicken, candles, and an old bottle of wine Daniel had saved years ago. The house glowed with warmth, the kind that money couldn't buy. "To starting over," Marion said, raising her glass. Adam clinked his against hers. "To the truth." They ate slowly, comfortable in silence. Outside, the garden shimmered under the porch light. "I used to think success meant applause," Adam said. "Now it just means waking up and liking who I am." Marion smiled. "That's a kind of wealth your father always understood." When the plates were cleared, Adam walked to the piano in the corner. He brushed away dust and pressed a key. The sound was slightly off-pitch, but his hands remembered. A soft melody filled the room. Marion leaned against the doorway, eyes glistening. "You haven't played that since before your father died." He looked back at her. "He used to say this song sounded like home." She laughed gently. He couldn't carry a tune to save his life. Adam chuckled. "Maybe that's why I played it for him." He finished the song, his voice quiet. "Do you think he'd be proud of me?" Marion stepped forward, placing a hand on his shoulder. He already was. Later, when the candles burned low, she stepped out onto the porch. The night was cool, scented with jasmine and rain. She looked up at the stars and whispered, "He's found his way, Daniel." Behind her, Adam appeared in the doorway. "Talking to Dad again?" Marion smiled. "He listens better now." Adam joined her, folding his arms against the railing. "Then tell him thank you for the compass." "I already did," she said. They stood together in silence, the world around them washed clean. Somewhere in the distance, thunder rolled softly, not as warning, but as applause for everything they'd survived. The groundbreaking for Project Haven took place on a bright spring morning. The air smelled of wet soil and cut grass, sunlight glinting off the rows of silver shovels lined beneath a white tent. Marion Cole stood near the back of the crowd, her heart swelling as her son stepped up to the microphone. Adam looked different now, simpler, steadier, more himself. "When I started designing buildings," he began, "I thought architecture was about spectacle. But real architecture is about people, about creating places where they feel safe, where life can happen." Applause rippled through the audience. City officials, volunteers, families who had applied for the first homes. Marion clapped until her hands tingled. Ethan Brooks, his longtime friend, spoke next. This began with one man who told the truth when it cost him everything. Now that truth is building something lasting. The crowd cheered. Marion saw Harper Quinn filming from the side, smiling proudly. When the speeches ended, Adam lifted a silver shovel and turned the first patch of earth. Cameras flashed. Then he looked up and found her eyes in the crowd. For a heartbeat, he was her boy again, mud on his knees, joy on his face. After the ceremony, people gathered around lemonade tables. Reporters took notes, children laughed, and optimism hummed in the warm air. Harper joined Marion. "You must be proud." Marion smiled. "Proud doesn't begin to cover it." "Funny thing," Harper said. "He thinks this is just a project, but it's healing people, including him." Marion's eyes softened. Sometimes building a home starts with rebuilding yourself. Across the lawn, Adam spoke with council members, his expression open, confident. When the crowd began to thin, he found his way to them, rolling up his sleeves. "Well, it's done," he said. "It's beginning," Marion replied. He grinned. "You sound like Dad." "That's because I'm quoting him," she said. They walked together through the open lot where wooden stakes marked the future homes. Each bore a small white tag: the Ramirez family, the Turners, the Nguyens. Adam stopped at one. They've been living out of their car. The mom cried when she learned they'd have a yard. Marion touched the stake. "You're giving people what money can't buy." He smiled faintly. "That's the goal." A car door shut behind them. Harper approached, waving a folder. City contracts fully approved, funding secured. Adam flipped through the pages. "So it's real." "It's happening," Harper said. "Construction starts next month." He exhaled, the relief visible. "We did it." "No," Harper said gently. "You did. You believed again." Marion looped her arm through his. "And now you're building something that'll outlive all of us." They stood in silence, the evening light stretching long and gold across the field. That night, back home, Marion placed a framed newspaper clipping on the mantel. "Architect turns scandal into hope." The photo showed Adam smiling at the groundbreaking sunlight in his hair. She lit a candle beside it. When Adam came in, still dusty from the site, he noticed the frame. "You kept Dad's photo here?" Marion nodded. "He belongs with every new beginning." Adam studied it for a long moment. "I think about him more now than ever. I used to wonder what he'd say if he saw how badly I messed up." Marion shook her head. "He'd say what I'm saying now. Mistakes mean you were brave enough to try." Adam smiled faintly. He used to fix things that weren't broken, just to make them stronger. "Maybe that's what I'm doing." "Exactly what you're doing," she said. They ate leftovers at the kitchen table, quiet, content. Outside, the crickets started their nightly chorus. "You know what's strange?" Adam said. "For years I thought happiness was about winning, but it's really about peace." Marion nodded. "And peace doesn't come cheap." He looked at her, eyes steady. "You gave me mine back." She reached across the table, taking his hand. "You found it yourself. I just left the light on." Later, she stepped onto the porch. The night was warm, full of jasmine and stars. She whispered, "He's doing it, Daniel. He's building what you dreamed of." Behind her, Adam appeared. "Talking to Dad again?" She smiled. "He's a good listener." He leaned on the railing beside her. "Then tell him I said thank you." "I already did," she said softly. They stood together as the candlelight flickered through the window behind them, two silhouettes framed by the home they'd rebuilt with forgiveness, truth, and love, strong enough to weather every storm. By summer, Project Haven had become more than blueprints. It was alive. Foundations lined the Savannah lot like open hands ready to hold lives. The air smelled of sawdust and rain. Marion Cole stood beside her son, watching workers pour concrete under the rising heat. Adam wiped his forehead. "We're finally doing it," he said. "Every time I hear a hammer, I feel like we're driving nails into the past." Marion smiled. "Then make sure the future's built straight." He laughed, the sound light for once. Trucks rumbled, voices shouted directions. Children from nearby apartments pressed their faces against the fence to watch. Hope had a sound now, steady and rhythmic. Ethan Brooks jogged toward them, clipboard in hand. "We're ahead of schedule," he said. "First homes will be ready by fall." "That's incredible," Adam said. Marion touched Ethan's arm gratefully. "You've been his anchor." Ethan shrugged. "He's steering his own ship now." As they spoke, Harper Quinn arrived with a photographer from a national architecture magazine. "Smile, everyone. They're doing a feature on community rebuilding." Adam frowned. "I'm not sure I want the attention." Harper grinned. "You're not posing as a celebrity. You're standing as proof that integrity works." Reluctantly, Adam agreed. The camera clicked as they stood beside the half-built frames. Harper watched him carefully. "You know," she said, "when this is finished, you could start a foundation, train young architects, fund small projects." He looked intrigued. "A place for people who want purpose, not prestige." "Exactly," she said. Marian smiled to herself. She could see the next chapter unfolding right there. Sunlight glinting off new timber, off the boys she'd raised, off everything that had nearly been lost. That evening, they gathered for a team dinner under the open tent on site. Volunteers, builders, families waiting for their homes. The air buzzed with laughter and the smell of grilled corn. A small girl ran up to Adam and handed him a dandelion. "My mom says you're building our house," she said. Adam crouched down. "I am, and you'll have a window that catches the morning sun." Her face lit up. "I like the sun." Marian turned away, blinking back tears. Later, when dusk fell, paper lanterns flickered along the lot. Harper tapped her glass to speak. To everyone who believed, even when it looked impossible, and to the man who taught us that honesty builds stronger foundations than concrete, Adam Reeves. Applause filled the night. Adam stood, flustered, and raised his glass. "I just wanted to make things right. But this," he gestured to the glowing frames, "this made me right again. Thank you." Marian watched him as the crowd cheered. She thought of the boy who once believed money was proof of worth and saw at last the man who knew better. When the celebration ended, the site grew quiet. Crickets began their chorus. Lanterns swayed in the breeze. Adam and Marian lingered near the half-built walls. "Do you ever miss it?" she asked softly. "The luxury, the spotlight?" Adam shook his head. "It was noise. This is music. You sound like your father." He smiled. "Maybe I finally understand him." They walked toward the car, the gravel crunching underfoot. "You know," Adam said, "I keep thinking about what's next. When Haven finishes, I want to start again somewhere else. Rural towns, maybe. Places forgotten by progress." Marian nodded. "Then you'll keep his spirit traveling." At home, she poured them each tea. The house glowed with lamplight, the framed newspaper still on the mantel. Adam stared at it a long time. "Do you realize how far we've come from that day?" "I do," Marian said, "and I know it's not the end." He leaned back, thoughtful. "I used to see success as skyscrapers. Now it's small, steady, someone turning a key to a door they never thought they'd have." "That's legacy," she said. "Not money, not fame. Love that lasts." He smiled. "You should give speeches. I'll stick to wisdom and coffee." They laughed, the sound easy and full. Outside, a soft summer storm began to fall, rain whispering against the windows. "Funny," Adam said. "I used to hate storms. Now they remind me of beginnings." Marian looked at him with quiet pride. "That's because you stopped running from them." He nodded. "Because of you." She shook her head. "No, because of truth. It found us both." Lightning flashed, brief and harmless, illuminating the framed article, the blueprints on the table, and the two people who had rebuilt each other. Marian raised her cup. "To storms that wash away everything false." Adam touched his, to hers, and to the ones that leave us standing. They drank together as the rain fell harder, the sound steady and sure, like the heartbeat of home itself. Autumn came softly to Savannah, carrying cool air and the scent of pine. Project Haven was complete. Rows of small pastel houses stretched across the old sea-bright lot, each porch bright with flowers and laughter. The hum of children's voices filled the air, blending with the steady rhythm of life beginning again. Marian Cole stood beside her son at the dedication ceremony. The afternoon light brushed Adam's face, and for the first time in years, he looked completely at peace. "You did it," she whispered. He smiled. "We did. Every board, every nail, it's a second chance made solid." The mayor stepped forward, speaking into the microphone. "Project Haven shows what can happen when truth rebuilds what pride destroyed. These homes are proof that integrity endures." Applause rippled through the crowd. When it quieted, Adam took the stage. His voice carried, calm and sure. "This isn't a monument. It's a promise that no one's mistakes define them and that everyone deserves a safe place to start again." He paused, meeting his mother's eyes. "I lost my way once, but someone left a light on until I found it again." Marion felt her throat tighten. When the speeches ended, families invited them to see their new homes. In one kitchen, a woman proudly showed Marion curtains she'd sewn herself. "It's small," she said, "but it's ours." Marion touched her arm gently. "That's all a home needs to be." Outside, Harper Quinn snapped photos for a magazine piece titled "The Architect Who Rebuilt Hope." Ethan Brooks helped children plant trees near the sidewalks. The once empty lot now pulsed with color and sound, hammer strikes, laughter, the smell of fresh paint. As the sun lowered, Adam and Marion walked along the path between the houses. Warm light poured from every window. "It feels strange," he said softly. "For years I built for luxury. Now, seeing these simple homes filled with joy, I finally understand what Dad meant by legacy." Marion smiled. He believed greatness was measured in kindness, not height. Adam looked toward the river glimmering beyond the park. "I think he's here somehow, watching." "He is," Marion said, "in every wall that stands honest." They reached the far end of the street where a small playground overlooked the water. Children chased one another around swings that hadn't existed a month ago. A brass plaque beneath a young oak caught the light. "In memory of Daniel Cole, a builder of foundations, seen and unseen." Adam knelt, brushing away fallen leaves. "You did this," he murmured. "No," Marion replied. "You did. I just reminded you of the compass inside you." He rose slowly. "You saved me, Mom. I just loved you," she said. "That's what mothers do." They sat on a nearby bench. The air was cool and filled with the sound of river water and laughter. "Do you think about her?" Marion asked quietly. "Lydia?" Adam nodded. "Sometimes. Not with anger. She taught me what love isn't. Painful lesson, but worth it." Marion chuckled. "Wisdom's expensive, but it lasts longer than luxury." He laughed softly. "You always manage to make pain sound noble. I've lived long enough to see what grows from it." They fell silent, watching the lanterns flicker on as dusk deepened. Harper and Ethan waved goodbye in the distance, their voices fading into the warm glow of the neighborhood. "Do you think it'll last?" Adam asked finally. "It will," Marion said, "because truth doesn't rot." He nodded. "I used to measure success in applause. Now it's in quiet." "That's real success," she said. "Peace is the prize." They rose as the sky turned violet. The homes behind them glowed gold against the darkening horizon, a patchwork of resilience and forgiveness. Driving back to Willow Lane, the car was filled with comfortable silence. When they arrived, the porch light glowed softly through the mist. Adam held the door open. "You know," he said, "Project Haven may have saved me, but this place, this house, was always my first home." Marion smiled. "Then promise you'll keep its light burning for others." "I will," he said. "That's what Dad would want." Inside, the house smelled faintly of cinnamon and paint. The framed article on the mantel caught the glow of the lamp. "Architect turns scandal into hope." Marion straightened it, her fingers lingering on the glass. "Looks like we made it," she whispered. Adam joined her, resting a hand on her shoulder. "No," he said quietly. "We're just beginning." They stood together, mother and son, the steady pulse of home surrounding them. Outside, wind brushed through the magnolia trees, carrying laughter from the new neighborhood, a melody of truth, grace, and second chances that would outlast them both.